So you've decided that 2021 is the year you want to buy a house and the market is crazy. Well, today I have 4 steps that you can take to successfully buy a house in 2021. Hey y'all, it's Christy on the Crystal Coast and welcome to my channel. If you want to know all the things about retiring, relocating, or just relaxing on the Crystal Coast, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, click the thumbs up, and ring that bell so you'll be notified every time a new video gets published. Now today we're going to go over the 4 steps that you need to be taking if you want to successfully buy a house in 2021. I could go into all the reasons why we're having a crazy market right now, but that's not what this video is about. So let's get started with our 4 steps. Number 1, you need to know how much house you can afford and make sure that all of your finances are in order. So before you ever start looking at houses, stay away from Zillow, stay away from Realtor.com until you have these numbers down. You need to know how much of a monthly payment you can afford. You need to know how much down payment you're going to be able to put up. You're going to need to know how much money you need to have in the bank in order to afford all of the different expenses that come along with buying a house, like your home inspection, your appraisal, getting those points paid down on your loan, if you need to have any repairs that you're going to have to do to the house. You're going to need to know all of those numbers before you ever even start the buying process. Once you know those numbers, you can move on to step number 2, and that is getting pre-approved for your loan. Now, if you're one of the lucky ones that has cash to buy your house, whether it's because you sold your house during this crazy market and made a ton of money, or maybe you're borrowing money from your parents in order to buy your first home, either way, if you are buying with cash, it is important that you know how to get a hold of a proof of funds document. You are going to need that when you put your offer in for buying a house. Now, some examples of that would be if you're pulling money out of a trust, you need to talk to your trust manager and make sure that they are aware that you might need that document fairly quickly. Or you need to know where to be able to get your bank statement that shows that you have the funds that you would be buying that property for. We will redact things like the account number and other miscellaneous personal information that's in there, but you do have to provide a proof of funds when you're putting in your offer if you are buying with cash. Now moving on to getting a pre-approval for a loan, that you are going to need to work with a mortgage lender or a mortgage broker. Your real estate agent that you're working with should have the names of some people that they prefer working with, or you may know somebody yourself that you know is a friend or acquaintance, or somebody else you know has gotten a mortgage through them. But I would reach out to at least 2 or 3 different mortgage professionals in order to see who can give you the best terms, whether that is the best interest rate, how much they are going to help you pay down on your points, if they're going to pay for your appraisal, or if you need to pay for that out of pocket yourself. There's a variety of different things that can be different from lender to lender, so I do encourage you to shop around a little bit. You also want to work with a lender that you really trust and like and feel like they answer the questions that you have, because it is important that you are working with somebody that you feel comfortable giving all of the personal information that you are going to have to give them. Sometimes it feels like you might have to turn over your firstborn child in order to get a loan. Once you have somebody that you want to work with, give them all of the information that they ask for so that you can get a pre-approval. Once you have that pre-approval, then you can start looking for houses. The problem you run into if you don't have that pre-approval in hand before you start looking at houses is you find something that you love, and in this market things are going so fast, if you don't have your offer in perhaps in 2 or 3 hours, you will lose the opportunity to put an offer in on that house. So it is important you have that pre-approval with you when you start looking for houses, so you waste no time in being able to get your offer in front of the seller as soon as possible. And that leads us to step number 3. You have to be ready to jump. This market is moving at warp speed, maybe even faster than warp speed. And you need to be ready to go. As soon as you see something come on the market that you like, you don't have time to waste. You and your agent need to get out there and see that property as soon as possible so you can decide if it is something that you want to write an offer on. I know this is an uncomfortable place to be when you are making a financial decision as big as buying a house. Unfortunately, it is the situation that we are in, and if you want to buy a house this year, these are the hoops that you will have to jump through. This market is moving so fast that you need to have your head around what you are wanting to buy and what you're willing to put an offer in before it ever comes on the market. This is definitely not a tire kicker market. This is a market for quick decisions. And that leads us to the last step, step number 4. Know what concessions you are willing to make. Because this is such a strong seller's market, you as the buyer are going to have to sacrifice a lot more than buyers usually do in a normal market. Some of the concessions that you may have to consider are doing an inspection for informational purposes only, and you are not going to ask the seller for any repairs. Or you might have to waive your appraisal contingency, meaning that if the house doesn't appraise for the amount of money that you're offering it, you are going to pay the difference. So say you're buying a house for $300,000, but the appraisal only comes in at $250,000, and you waive your appraisal contingency, meaning you will have to come up with that extra $50,000 up to $300,000. It's a very dangerous concession to make, and not one that I encourage people at all. But again, if you have the financial means to do it and that's the way you're going to get a house, we are seeing it a lot.
Yeah. So
Another concession you might have to make is giving the sellers a long time to stay in the house after closing so they can find something to move into themselves. Most lenders will only allow you to give up to 60 days for the seller to rent back from you, because once it goes past 60 days, it's considered a rental, which is a different loan product. Make sure you are aware of what those rules and regulations are for your particular mortgage, if that's something that you are going to want to write in your offer. One last concession, or really more something that would sweeten the pot for the seller when you're putting an offer, is to have a high due diligence amount and or a high earnest money amount. Both of those dollars go towards your final sell in closing. It'll go towards your down payment. However, the due diligence money is money that the seller gets to keep if you walk away from the purchase for any reason. Due diligence is basically paying the seller a non-refundable deposit so that you can take the property off of the market while you are doing an inspection and waiting for appraisal. So you want to really make sure this is a property that you truly want before you put down a significant amount of due diligence. I know right now can be extremely discouraging for buyers, and I wish there was something that I could do for that. Unfortunately, with the way that our market is moving, this is the situation that we are in. And when I look at the circumstances, we are not in a bubble that is going to suddenly burst in like 6 months. There are a lot of reasons why this market will continue to be hot for a while. I hope that these 4 steps help you get your head around the best way to mentally go into buying a house right now, and to have your focus on what you need to do in order to get your offer accepted. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.